Well, all right, folks. This is it. This is 120 months. My name is David Parsons, joined by my good friend John Lombardo. How you doing, John?
Hi, David. I'm
Good.
pretty good today.
Good to see you.
You
It is.
too.
We are walking through the 1990s. We have been talking about albums released in 1991 for the last 12 or more episodes, and we have arrived at December 1991, the last month of the year, the last month of a crazy year in music. A lot of crazy developments in popular music, I would say.
Yeah, what I'll tell you something that really was interesting to me. Look, I was there. I was making music at this time, and I did not know this. But it is considered by many people, many music historians and artists and critics and stuff say this is one of the greatest years in music history.
Yeah.
And obviously now that we're dissecting the year, it's true.
Well,
But
I made that video
didn't know
about
that.
September 1991, just that one
Ridiculous,
month.
yeah.
And it's insane. And we missed some of them. Like there's an album that I wanted to mention by a band called Talk Talk that came
Yeah.
out in September 91 as well. We didn't even touch on that one. I mean, there are a ton of really crazy albums that came out this year.
You know what came out this year that we didn't touch on was Cooley High Harmonies by Boys to Men, which was a big Boys to Men record.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, I mean, I want to talk about a little bit of that today, like what else was going on in pop culture in 1991.
But I will tell you that
Yeah.
it's interesting to me to do what we're doing, and then to read all that information, and to have been, I was making records and playing music in 1991. We weren't signed yet. We weren't touring, but if you would have asked me, was that like this incredible special year? I probably would have said, I would have
been like, everything sucks, man. Music sucks now.
I probably would have picked a little bit later year in the decade, but
Yeah.
But I've changed my mind about that. I would have been incorrect. 91 was the fucking year, man.
Well, I'm just looking at the movies for 91 because I being in the age I was really into movies and really coming online. I was 13 years old in 91, so I saw all of these. But just the top 5 movies: Terminator 2, Judgment Day; Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which produced the biggest song of the year, which is Bryan Adams' "Everything I Do It For You." 25 weeks at number 1, that song dominated. And I know there are like memes about that now because they're like people that were alive during that era remember that song. It was everywhere. Number 3, Home Alone. Number 4, Silence of the Lambs. Number 5, City Slickers. This is also the year that Dances with Wolves came out. The Addams Family, Naked Gun 2.5, Backdraft, Beauty and the Beast, which started started to take off the whole like new era of Disney animation. A lot of like just blockbuster shit happening in 91.
So and Beauty and the Beast. I would say that actually the film before that, I believe, which is Little Mermaid, was really the renaissance of the Disney.
Yes, right.
But Beauty and the Beast, the first animated film to win an Academy Award.
That's right.
So Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Dances with Wolves came out that year.
Yeah,
so those are
Kevin Costner's
Kevin
dominating.
Costner. He had a good year.
Yeah, local hero.
And that's right. He went to Buena High School, same high school as me. Did you go to Buena?
Yeah.
So all of our
Yeah, they
alma
showed
mater.
his yearbook photo, and he came. He was like part of our mythology. And that year, when Dances with Wolves came out, he came to our school and like did like a charity basketball game.
Did he really?
Yeah, and we went and saw it, and it was a big deal, and like we all were sort of recognizing that he was the most famous guy to come out of our school.
So I would have been long graduated by that point, but yeah.
People that weren't alive in this era don't remember because Kevin Costner's not such a big deal anymore. But he was a huge fucking deal back then.
Oh, he was a big star. He did. And the thing about Dances with Wolves was that was his directorial debut. Remember,
That's right.
Debut. So he directed that film, and it was a huge success.
It's just funny to think of all those movies coming out the same year we're talking about, like Nirvana and Soundgarden.
Very
and
mainstreamy.
Yeah.
And I do think that if there's someone out there watching who is an expert in psychology and mental disorders and things like that, what is the referendum on American society that Everything I Do It For You was a number 1 song for how many weeks?
25 weeks.
25 weeks. That says something about our collective psycho. We're mentally ill.
I thought about this and I wanted to ask you. I think mentally ill is a good thesis, but I was kind of thinking, the songs like the Celine Dion "My Heart Will Go On" song from Titanic, right, is another example,
right?
And there are many others of songs that come from movies soundtrack, like The Bodyguard, "I Will Always Love You," Whitney Houston, that somehow achieved, like, maybe this is just the 90s, but somehow achieved like mega status in that they saturated the culture so deeply that it was just like you could not escape this song. In fact, speaking of memes, I don't know if you saw this, but on like Instagram and all these other places, in the last couple weeks, there's been a 90s meme where people are like listening, they all put the song "Iris" by Goo Goo Dolls to it, which is another song that comes from a movie, City of Angels, that also spent a long time at the top of the charts. And there's a lot of divided opinion about that song, like a lot of divided opinion. I think it's hard not to have divided opinions about songs that become this huge, right? You're kind of like, oh my God, I can't fucking hear this song.
Yeah.
But obviously these songs have power. You know what I mean? Like they're just.
Are you saying
unbelievably powerful?
It's the juxtaposition of it being part of a super successful film.
Yeah.
I mean I don't
a romantic movie. You know what I mean? These are all songs, by the way, about heartbreak and like how much I love you and how much I miss you, and it's kind of like it conjures up like something that would probably be a universal experience.
Well, this is also the last probably half decade, maybe a little longer than that. This is the last few years, and MTV was still playing videos, right? Music videos.
Oh yeah.
And so there was a way for them to cross-market films, and so there was probably tremendous power from the film studios to say, hey, play this song a lot.
Right.
Because some of those songs, like "I'm Sorry, but Everything I Do it for You," which is taken from a line in that movie.
You know it's true.
Yeah. I die for you. It's come on. That's
cheesy.
That's
right?
super. And I'll say it right here. I'm proud of this. I'm a Bryan Adams fan. His written some really good songs.
Like Tom Petty, Summer of '69 shit.
He's the Canadian Tom Petty,
right?
The toothless, grinning, happy Tom Petty,
right?
With no darkness, yeah.
Right.
But he's great, man. And my friend just saw him like last year and said I saw a video of him.
I love him, and I don't mind that
great.
song because I was 13 years old, and it's fucking ingrained in me as sort of like. I thought this was funny. I don't know if you remember this, but they tried to repeat this success.
Three Musketeers.
Yes, with Rod Stewart and Sting joining Bryan Adams.
I was so relieved to find that there's a line that even America won't cross with bad taste. Like that song did not, because at Rod Stewart, Sting, and Bryan Adams, you think, and this big movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, who is just coming off Titanic fame, right? Oh my God, this is going to be huge. Not so much.
Yeah, didn't happen.
But yeah, I mean, and then I will say that conversely, I think films also helped songs that otherwise might not have been successful. Like "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal.
Yeah.
Got a huge push because it was on the Batman soundtrack.
That's right.
Now, it's a very strange thing for that song to be, coinciding with videos of guys in tights swinging off buildings. But that song deserved to be a hit, and I don't know if it would have been. It's a great song.
It's a cool song.
Yeah, it's a really
I always love that song.
Interesting song.
I don't know what the fuck he's saying in that song.
Baby, I compare you to a kiss from the rose on the grave.
Yeah, I guess. I never understood it,
dude,
but I always enjoyed
cool.
it. Yeah, he is.
Seal's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it makes me actually curious about the rest of Seal's stuff, because I think he has a couple of other hits, but nothing as big as that.
That's probably his biggest hit. Although, remember, but we're never gonna survive unless that was a great song. And
that sounds like a Lenny Kravitz.
Big hit. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Lenny's cool. I mean, Seal's cooler than Lenny in my book. What do I know?
So if we're saying I'm like Seal or Lenny Kravitz, I
would go with Seal.
Really?
But Lenny's cool.
I like Lenny Kravitz. Yeah.
He's a hit machine.
We listened to one of his first album this year. Okay, so let's get to the actual album.
He's got great nipples. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
A couple albums in December '91, and what I discovered, because we were sort of marveling at the idea that all these, tons of albums come out every month, but then December is like nothing.
We learned that second year in a row, right?
That's an actual thing, though. Like that the recording industry intentionally didn't put a lot out at the end of the year. They would often put out these box sets and sort of like holiday
Christmas gift
stuff.
things.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But they didn't like to release. I guess it was just too crowded a consumer field to release new music at this time. I don't know what the thinking behind that was. Maybe someone listening knows a little more detail about that. But the result is not a lot of huge albums in '91 or December.
I can tell you something about it. For the true 2 or 3 years when we actually like had management and were shopping to labels our records, I can tell you that I remember tremendous frustration if if somebody saw us at some label like Interscope or Columbia and they liked us and we were in talks with them and it was like October, we would be telling our management, please get them the stuff, because by like early November, that fucking industry shut off until mid-January.
Interesting.
So maybe like record promotions and people that were, overseeing the distribution of the actual because back then it was hardware. It wasn't, something you'd stream. You had to get records out to stores, and maybe the people that were behind the scenes logistically were not moving the machine. And so maybe that had something to do with it.
This is, I think, somewhat related because it's the same era. Do you remember that CDs used to be packaged with like the big long cardboard box?
Yeah,
and I was always like, what is this box for? It was just sort of like, seemed like it didn't make any sense why a CD was packaged that way. And there was pushback from, because this was in an era that there was increased, environmental.
Yeah, it was a waste of paper, trees.
Yeah, and there were a couple artists that were sort of saying, I don't want my album released that way. And they were like, well, they have to be, because that's how they all get sort of boxed together. But it took like a movement from artists to say like, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
And eventually it went away. But it's just a weird sort of relic of that era, is that CDs used to be packaged. I remember looking at them and like, this is, totally my suburban memories of, I looked at music at Costco all the time, and Costco was like that. Just a million fucking huge cardboard boxes with CDs in them. They don't have them that way anymore.
Can I tell you something? Like, maybe my little old man nostalgia bit. Yeah. I'm so grateful that when I grew up, if you wanted to hear new music, like if you were into cool, what wasn't being spoon-fed to you on one of the 3 radio stations.
You had to pay a guy on the corner with a nickel, and he would sing a song for you. Oh, not that long ago.
Yeah. I think I should do that. Yeah. No. You had, what I used to have to do. There's 2 things. We had to try to find pirate radio stations.
Yeah.
Late at night, which we did. And then I would ride my skateboard at Jailhouse Records and go through the vinyl and just see what was there. And
where was Jailhouse Records?
Jailhouse Records was over by where
in Ventura?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. It's in that little shopping mall, not across the street from Buena, but over where Save-On used to be, and it's not a CVS, whatever. But like, do you know where Little Lion, it's a nice restaurant, it very much? That's where Jailhouse Records was.
No way.
Right in that little mall there.
Had no idea.
And I used to ride my skateboard up there and go through the records, and I remember going and like, I only went 2 days ago. It's going to be all the same records. Like, really there was this anticipation. You had to wait. There was patience and anticipation and such a level of excitement that bred such commitment to the music. When you got your hands on a record, you were committed to that album, the liner notes and the whole thing, and you would listen to every song. And if it wasn't good, it wasn't good. But I love that I grew up in that era when, I would not want to grow up in this era when everything's at the fingertips right now.
Disposable.
Yeah, it's very disposable. It just doesn't have the same value and it doesn't have the same.
And yet it's so available.
It doesn't have the same emotional power, though.
That's true.
It doesn't reach into you like it, because you didn't have to give anything up to get it. You know what I mean?
It was that way for me with CDs. I mean, when I got a CD, however I obtained it, it was, I had a routine of like, listen to the CD, read the liner notes, read the lyrics as I'm listening to it. It was like reading a book. Like I have to like consume the whole thing in order, sort of really consider what the artist was trying to do with the artwork on the in the CD and the lyrics and everything like that. And I guess you didn't make tapes off of radio, did you?
Yeah, and there were cassettes available. Yeah. But I was a vinyl person. And then when I got to be like in my late teens, and this is brilliant, by the way. Think about this. When I got to be in my late teens, the CD came out, and you bought all those records again. Yeah. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
You bought all those records again.
Well, that's what we're doing with our vinyl now. Like, we have, Claudia and I have this growing vinyl collection, And a lot of the stuff we're buying is like stuff that I remember having on CD or like just loving when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like there's multiple emotional things that are happening with collecting those things, with those records. So let's talk about some records. December 1991.
It's a difficult month.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. And there's 3 artists we're going to talk about today, and 2 of them are going to have a much more interesting story in a couple of years.
Right. You're right. I was kind of I like to, when I look at each of these lists for the month, I like to think like, okay, what connects these things? You know, what are and this one was a little tricky. There are 3 rock bands. The first one is a band called Green Day. This is their second album. It's called Kerplunk. Came out December 17th, 1991. This is the first album by Green Day that has like the full Green Day band that became huge. In other words, they got the drummer Trey Cool.
Trey Cool and Mike Dirnt. And,
yep,
yeah.
and they're like they're the Green Day we know and love are now together. And you and I talked about an earlier Green Day release that was like
Sloppy
Proto,
Hour.
39. I want to say. What's the name of that album? 1039, Smoothed Out, Sloppy Hours. Yeah. So what do you think of this album? I had a couple things to say about it. I thought it was interesting. It's Green Day again. Like they're always Green Day.
I you look, man. Green Day, you gotta hand it to them.
Yeah.
I've never been a giant Green Day fan. I saw them play. I think it was Berkeley Square, probably around this time, maybe even a little earlier. Billy Joe was a little kid with long curly brown hair. I watched them become huge. The guy, what's his name? Not Jim Cardillo. That was our rep from Warner Chapel. But what's his? There's a guy. I think he produced this. I think he produced Dookie. But I talked to him. Rob Cavallo, I think his name is. I talked to him. He was trying to sign another band, friends of mine, Toadwet Sprocket, around this time, or a little earlier than this. And he's the guy that signed Green Day. They represented this San Francisco underground scene, right? And what I think about Green Day is they have to be called the most commercially successful punk rock band of all time.
Yeah.
They have to be. There's nobody who made it that big for that long of a time, really just playing 3-chord punk rock.
Yeah.
They didn't really,
and a lot of, punk is filled with a lot of curmudgeons that would be like, and that means they're not punk. They got so huge, they got big houses.
I get that.
Like that.
You can't be punk if you're successful. I don't know if I buy into that shit
Right,
anymore.
me neither.
But I will tell you something like, so they stand on the shoulder of a lot of giants, okay? There's some band, Channel 3, Descendants, Angry Samoans, and very much the Clash, early Clash. Like they are definitely a little more than borrowing from these punk rock ideas from some of these bands, but they do a great job of it. And I believe that they are reverent about it. Like, I think that there's a way that you can do things when you're borrowing heavily with reverent. Like you can rip something off, or you can reverently really appropriate it in a way that like you. And then they've kind of got their own way of doing it. But I don't know, they're not David Bowie.
Right.
Bowie could take a genre of music and put it through the David Bowie filter, and it would be, there's Motown, but it sounds like David Bowie doing Motown. They're not that great of a prism as artists they sound like a lot of other things, but
and they sound like themselves at the same time too. Like
they do.
They're instantly recognizable,
and they're great at what they do.
You know what I wanted to say about them, and I wondered what you would think about this in terms of like the influences, because that band Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. They're like a super group of like punk guys that do all covers of like 50s and 60s songs.
I've never heard of them.
So they'll be playing like If You Still Love Me Tomorrow or Earth Angel, and they do it in like Earth Angel,
yeah.
Like a quick punk.
Okay.
And it's really fun. I thought you could do this in reverse with Green Day's songs. In other words, Green Day's melodies sound like 50s songs that you could like, if you produce them in like a Buddy Holly way, the melodies have that kind of sweet texture to them. The subjects of their songs, especially on this album, are like heartbreak and lost love and loneliness,
young
and
male
alienation.
themes. Yeah.
And what I was reading about this album in particular is that it was notable in that teenage girls specifically started getting into Green Day, which
yeah.
is such a fucking key audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, there's something about their sound that to me links up with that 50s stuff specifically. Like the Back
that's
to
right.
the Future music.
No, you're
you know?
absolutely, and that's what early punk rock was.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Johnny Thunders, even the Sex Pistols and the Clash. A lot of that stuff is just rock and roll.
The Cramps. When
The
we
Cramps.
were listening to the Cramps, we were like, I was like, dude, this is 50s
Yeah,
music,
just rock and roll.
rockabilly shit. I
Yeah.
fucking love it. And I think it has there's something funny about it because it's like that, what Johnny Depp, like Crybaby shit. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's sort of like this heartbroken, tough guy in a leather jacket, and the music is so good. Like it's hooky. Like Green Day songs are not like art rock, noise rock kind of shit that's sort of like dissonant. Their songs are sweet. Their songs sort of like they have melodies to them that sort of draw you in. They're very catchy.
There are two forms in guitar music that show up in 50s, very early rock and roll that most punk rock bands use. And they're these two forms. This is one of them. It goes like this. Something, I mean, any key you can do this, but. And the other one is. Or some variation of those
Very
three chords. The 1, 4,
recognizable.
5, yeah. You know, and Green Day has made a very healthy career out of some variation of those two forms, and then of course some other things they do. We'll talk more about
yeah.
like. I mean, I will tell you, I think that good bands can make great records. Okay, It happens all the time. We just talked about this. The Chili Peppers just did this with Blood Sugar Sex Magic. They're a really good band that made a fucking great record, and I think Green Day does that when they made American Idiot. We'll talk about that much later. But they're very good at what they do. They're just part of American music now, and yet they haven't really changed.
No, not at all. You get what you're expecting when you get a Green Day album, and yet, I mean, I think they played around with their sound a little bit and their themes to their albums. Like you said, American Idiot was sort of like, I think, developed into like a Broadway play or something like that. Yeah,
it was a concept album,
right?
Yeah,
but we probably talked about this last time when we talked about Green Day, but Billy Joe Armstrong's voice is a big part of what Green Day is.
It is.
You know, that snotty teenage voice
snotty
that he's got.
Teenage, maybe, like if you didn't know who it was, you might think he was British.
Yes.
Like he very much got his, you know, like that Strummer, that persona is Joe Strummer, and Joe Strummer is like his spirit animal, you know,
yeah.
the Clash.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing to be.
No.
Joe Strummer's one of my favorite artists of all time. But he is, you're right. He always looks the part.
Yeah.
He knows how to stand. He knows how to hold his guitar. He knows how to do all the little things. He is an accomplished punk rock. He's an accomplished avatar of all that is punk.
Yeah.
And somehow wrapped it into a package that sold millions and millions and millions of records. That's why I say they've got to be considered the most successful punk rock band of all time.
Yeah, I think they're mega talented, honestly. And like, you know, the video of them playing in high school, they sounded like Green Day already. He had that voice, he had that control of the guitar and everything. I mean, I don't know if that just comes from lots of practice or if he was just born as Billy Joe Armstrong. He was just
born that way. Yeah. His identity was already formed when he was like 15, and he's great at it, man. I mean, like I said, I saw them probably in 1990 or 91. My son's first concert was, we went and saw Green Day at the Rose Bowl. Like they've always been there. I got in trouble in one of the threads for calling Dinosaur Jr. a one-trick pony. I said,
yes.
Which
is funny because you're such a huge fucking Dinosaur Jr. fan.
Well, I said, and this is the part the guy missed. I said, they're a one-trick pony, and I love the trick.
Yeah.
But they're a one-trick pony, and I would say Green Day also.
Oh, definitely.
Kind of a one-trick pony, and I don't love the trick, but I like it. AC/DC is a one-trick pony. Yeah. I fucking love the trick. I listen to it over and over again. But they have not veered too far from what they've always been.
Yeah, to me that begs the question: is like, what successful band, huge band, isn't a one-trick pony? You know what I mean? Because ultimately, like, you have to develop a sound that is that is distinctly yours. Like even like if I'm thinking about a band that is famous for evolving is Radiohead. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, Tom York's voice, the Johnny Greenwood's guitar, the kind of there's even like YouTube videos you can watch where like these are Radiohead chords. You know, these are the scales that they use. You know, they have a sound that's probably consistent across all their albums, even though Kid A might sound nothing like fucking the Bends. They're still like Radiohead. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd call them a one-trick pony.
No,
but
God.
if it is one trick, it's a pretty diverse trick.
You're just a fucking idiot.
So wrong.
No, so the way what I'm talking about is like if you take what year did this record come out?
91.
91.
Yeah.
So let's jump 10 years ahead.
Right.
And listen to what they're doing. It's not that different.
No.
Whereas if you take the Bends and Kid A, Radiohead, that 7 or 8 years between those two albums,
you'd be like, wow,
it's not
that's quite a jump.
They are experimenting. If you take Joshua Tree and Zooropa,
right,
they're not doing the same thing. There are going to be some familiar components to what they're doing, for sure.
Right.
But,
so this is Kerplunk, the album that I think was right before Dookie that like explodes Green Day into the consciousness in a much bigger way.
Dookie was huge.
I was surprised that there were like hits on this album. Like Welcome to Paradise is like probably on their best of.
But that's not the original. That's the original version. Right? It's all on another record, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, let's see.
Because that's not the.
Yeah, it's also on Dookie.
Yeah, it's not the same version. I was interested. I thought, oh well, this is. You can tell if you listen to it. It's not nearly as polished and produced, but it's the same. It's a great song. I like the song.
And they've got this cover of My Generation, the Who song at the end, which I thought was funny. And the other song I wanted to mention is Christy Road for anyone that sort of wants to test my thesis about the 50s songs. If you listen to that song, Christy Road, it really sounds like almost like a doo-wop 50s group could do a version of it.
He has definitely got those old foundational rock and roll sensibilities in his songwriting, for sure. And that's his gift, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
it's the secret to their success.
For a 3-piece band, they're fucking great. Trey Cool's a great drummer.
Like if
Mike
they
Dirnt's
came in and played in the living room right now, we would be like, holy shit, they're fucking tight band, man. They're
tight
good.
Band. But Billy is not a great guitar player. Billy Joe. He's not a great singer. He's a cool singer. He's not a brilliant lyricist. His superpower is his instincts and sensibilities around music. He knows how to, like, just if you're going to do My Generation, don't do the stutters. He knows.
Yeah, right.
He knows how to make something fucking cool when he does it. And he knows how to borrow without stealing. Like he has great sensibilities for let's face it, it's pop music at the end of the day. It is.
Yeah.
It's simple, 3-chord, great melodies, great harmonies.
I also like that they're just like sort of timeless. Like they keep getting discovered by younger generations who are like into Green Day. I feel like there's a set of 15-year-old girls and boys that are into Green Day right now. You know what I mean?
Well, that was my point.
Yeah.
I saw them in 1990, and when my son was 15 and wanted to go to his first concert, he wanted to see Green Day.
Yeah. We have friends down in L.A. when we visit them, I last month I was wearing this shirt. I'm wearing a Green Day shirt right now. And the kid that lives with them, their son, he's 15. And he was like, yeah, Green Day when he saw my shirt.
Another thing that should be said, on the list of Billy Joe's powers is a way to talk for young, emotionally stunted boys about their suburban struggles.
Totally.
So that young boys relate to it. It's funny. Like, look, Dookie.
Yes.
Poop.
Yeah.
And I'll bet Kerplunk is the sound of a poop falling in the toilet.
Yes. Oh, totally.
So they have this, it's poop humor. It's silly.
Kerplunk and Dookie. Yeah. They're great.
There's a poop theme. So it speaks to young boys.
And yet they're like, he and their band have been committed, outspoken, like anti-fascist.
Oh, yeah.
Anti-conservative.
They're on the right side of everything. Yeah, for sure.
In fact, they just played the pre-show of the Super Bowl this year, and everyone was like, thinking, oh, they're going to be like really explicitly anti-Trump, which they are, middle fingers up. He's fearless that way.
Yeah.
And there's something really cool about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's
that
very
presence.
outspoken.
Yeah.
He's that guy who, once again, he's savvy enough to understand that if you're going to walk that walk, if you're going to talk that talk, you have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
Like, I just saw a clip recently, just a few years ago. I'm sorry, a few weeks ago, not years. Just a few weeks ago, I saw a clip of Henry Rollins talking about our political situation. And he said, this is not a time to become discouraged. And he said, Joe Strummer trained you for this. Like, if you're a punk, this is when you stand up and you go to the protests and you speak out. Well, Billy Joe knows that. And so he's not going to have, on a platform like that, he's not going to miss that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be really funny if he was like, became like a reactionary, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. I think that actually happened with what band am I thinking of? Offspring. The Offspring broke up over like Trump shit. Some of them were Trump supporters.
Did they really?
Yeah. And I was kind of like, well,
I didn't know that.
I think that there's an argument that is made that is made online a lot about like punk music is not music that conservative people should be into. You know what I mean? In other words, there's a politics to it that's sort of like an outcast politics that is, different degrees of being on the left, essentially.
I'd like to talk about this
People
for a second.
have an argument about that, yeah.
But I would like to talk about this. I haven't seen it in Trump's current presidency, but when he was 45, I saw this among a lot of my punk rock friends. For some people, Trump presented as punk rock.
Yes.
Anti-government.
Yeah.
Anti-establishment.
I think that moment is over.
Saying fuck you to DC, you know? And so there was a rift there. There were these people that were totally down with the Trump, who gives a shit if he said a couple of crude things about women. He's going to take on the establishment, and that's what we want. And then there was this other people saying, this guy's a fucking racist, fascist scumbag, and how can you be down with him if you're a punk rocker? There was a real rift there.
Totally.
Both of them had a legit point.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, I don't think we can buy into
wasn't there like a Nazi history with punks too? We talked about a little bit of
That's
like,
what I was saying. Like, some people got into punk rock to bust heads and be tough and scary and fuck you, fuck fascist. Society, fuck everything. And then out of that, there grew a more intelligent, sensitive version of punk rock that was about nonconformity and reforming and reshaping things where they're more equitable and safe. Yeah. And so those two schools fought over him at first. And then, then everybody got all bent out of whack about a little bit of pedophilia.
As they do, yeah. Just a touch of pedophilia.
I mean, I don't have any problem saying in any public forum, if at this point, Donald Trump is an avatar for everything disgusting about humanity. And if you don't see that, I don't know what to say to you now. But back then, there was a legit rift about this.
You're right. There was. I think that for a lot of people, early on, Trump represented some sort of like edge that somehow linked on to a punk thing, but I don't know if it's there anymore. You're right.
Oh God, no.
We're too deep into it. Okay, so let's go talk about a very non-punk album. But this came out in December 91, and we got to talk about it because they're a band that actually has some big hits later on in the era. This band is called Live. This is their debut studio album. It's called Mental Jewelry, which is such a fucking 90s name for an album. Mental Jewelry. There was something that always turned me off about Live. I don't know what it was.
I'd love to know what it is. Maybe I'd like you to think about it, and I'll tell you some things about them. So this record, do you know this record was produced by Jerry Harrison, the guitar player of Talking Heads?
No.
Isn't that crazy?
That's fucking weird.
So
they got a lot of play. I was always kind of like, why is this band so big?
They had huge hits. We've talked a lot, especially in 1990, there were a lot of bands who just got the timing wrong.
Yeah, right.
These guys just got the timing so right. They just happened to be there. There is nothing underground about this record and Live. They're very much like a prog rock jam band combo. Mm-hmm. This is just they're one of those bands. This is just standard classic rock jams with a singer who's got a very particular style that can sing it into its own kind of thing. He's like a poor man's Eddie Vedder. Like Pearl Jam is just sort of this this pretty cool rock band until Eddie Vedder comes along and sings that material into something really interesting. Now, Ed Kowalczyk, is that his name? Kowalczyk?
Kowalczyk, yeah.
He's not as charismatic a figure or as talented an artist as Eddie Vedder, in my opinion, or as interesting a character. But there was a moment right now, particularly on the West Coast. These guys are from the East Coast, but there was this moment in the early '90s where there was like a harder version of '60s protest rock.
Yes.
And so what I attribute this to is like the technology. So imagine if the Doors, imagine if Robbie Krieger and Ray Manzarek had access to the technology of the early '90s. What kind of sounds they would have made? It would have been much heavier music. Much heavier music. And that's what this movement was.
I was thinking about the Doors. It's funny you say that when I was listening to this.
There's a band so this is a moment. It didn't last very long. It got sort of blown away again by the combination of grunge that was the Seattle sound and the punk rock sound of Weezer and Green Day that sort of popified everything. But there was this moment that there was a band called Our Lady Peace.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had a moment where they were kind of well known for a moment, and there were these lesser bands in LA. If you didn't live in LA, you wouldn't know who these bands were, but they were getting big record deals and they were getting next big thing status. Water, a band called Greta, and another band to a lesser extent called Ultraviolet Eye, and they were this sort of heavy psychedelic '60s sound with a slight punk edge, and that's what I think the popularity of Jane's Addiction sort of caused that to happen on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I would have
it's kind of hippie infused.
Yes.
Even with its content and its message.
Yes. And
I would have environmentalism and anti-war stuff on this album.
It's very, very topical, very it's protest music. It's very heady. He also, so you said you could never stand him. I could never stand him either, because I always thought this guy kind of sees himself as a shaman or a preacher.
Yes.
It's all this really heavy religious, self-serious, religious imagery, talking, about, he's talking a lot about baptism and the fire and the soul. And like even the cover of this album, he's making, they look like they're it looks like it's Hindu.
It's Eastern mysticism.
Yeah, Eastern mysticism.
This was, I said it was '90s, the mental jewelry name, but everything about this is sort of its time. There was a lot of this, and I feel like it is a relic a little bit of the 1960s, where you had this interest in Eastern mysticism and burning incense and a kind of like hippie vibe,
wearing the little hats, what are they called, like and the Nehru shirts and stuff.
And there's something, in one sense, like if I were putting this bigger cap or bigger kind of picture, it's sort of like it's a lot of white guys who are just uncomfortable with being like dweeby middle class white guys with no identity, so they sort of like are looking for an identity, and they see another culture.
They look to the east.
John Lennon and George Harrison went through this. Paul McCartney was fucking rolling his eyes at it. But a lot of these guys are sort of like looking to be like not what they are. And to me, part of it is like, I understand that because I grew up with a sort of blank white suburban identity. And I was sort of like, oh, who am I? Right behind you again is that picture of Allen Ginsberg, right?
Yeah, I'd rather not turn around. I'm not a little uncomfortable. Yeah, he has no clothes on.
He has no clothes on. He's got he's doing this mystic thing, and part of me is really, I really understand that. But part of me also is sort of cringing at it because there's some like sort of cultural appropriation happening. It's also just like when it's done badly, it can be done well and it can be done poorly. I'll put it that way. Live doesn't do it that well to me.
I will tell you something. I personally think they do it better than some.
Yeah.
I didn't ever like roll my eyes like, oh, for Christ's sake, listen to the lyrics. I didn't. And I think that there's nothing wrong with being principled when you're young.
Right.
And idealistic. There's worse things to be than that, right?
Definitely.
But there's a trap to it. You're right. Like it's totally understandable to be a young person, especially in the United States of America, and to feel like you are not in sync with this culture. It's culturally kind of empty. And you know, for young males, what is there? You know, the religion's a joke. There, you talk about Christianity is like the biggest religion in this country. Look at what white Christian nationals are doing on the big platforms right now. It's like, fuck that.
So if you encounter Buddhist ideas, you're like kind of like, that's fucking cool.
You look to the east. You read a book or something, and it opens your mind a little bit. But
yoga, meditation, all these things have value to me.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm still a practitioner of meditation and yoga.
I know you are. Yeah.
However, when you're a young male, it's very easy for your ego to get involved.
Yes. And
all of a sudden you become, it's about me being this guy. Look at me. I can sit for 30 minutes on a mat like this. Look at me. I can quote the Bhagavad Gita. I certainly went through that shit.
Yeah.
And then like, it's even a good way to get girls, you
like convince yourself you're a guru.
And so that's what when you said I couldn't stand him, what I find repulsive about Ed Kowalczyk, I did then and I do now when I listen to this music, is that there is a little bit of that putting myself in the story here. I'm the guy that's going to teach you. There's a song on this record. Called You Are the World, where he keeps saying, if you know war, what the fuck do you know about war, Ed Kowalczyk? Like telling people what to do if you know war, if you know love, you know peace. A young guy in America talking about, there's worse things to talk about, of course, but there is a self-importance. It's very easy to fall into that trap when you're exploring mysticism, particularly when you're a young man for whom the ego is a real issue.
But man, I think about this stuff so much because, I mean, you're looking at the Beatles up there. I mean, we were, and I say you and me are both of a generation that were raised in the shadow of the 1960s counterculture. You could feel it. There's that Nirvana as a good example of long-haired dudes that were kind of like, you weren't sure what their position was towards that because you could tell they were sort of into the Beatles and into that stuff, but at the same time, they were kind of singing like sarcastically, "Come on, come together," like that kind of shit.
Yeah, come on, people now, yeah.
And I thought, wow, okay, this is how am I supposed to feel about that? And I think that there's not one way to feel like. I think. A lot of times if you're like in punk circles, you're encouraged to really reject hippies. You know what I mean? Like, fuck all that shit. And yet there's also, like you said, there's a sort of soft, intelligent edge to punk music that's into veganism.
It became that way.
Edge and like
it wasn't there in 1976.
It's all people that are, to me, trying hard to break out of a culture that is stale and that is taking the world in a bad direction. And to me, that's a reckless process, or not an easy process.
No.
And I looking at this album live, Mental Jewelry, made me think all of that stuff, because I was like, I was really raised in an era where all of this stuff was very present in the culture, and it wasn't. I wasn't always entirely sure how I was supposed to feel about it. You know what I mean? And as I get older, I'm kind of like, you're right. You can develop a balance where you're sort of like taking what's valuable from it, for you, and rejecting the things you don't like about it. Yeah. You don't have to choose.
There's a saying, I think it's a Buddhist saying, that the finger that points to the moon is not the moon. Like
you sound like Ed Kowalczyk now. Is that a live lyric?
If I was Ed Kowalczyk, I would say, "Let me show you this song I wrote. The finger that points to the moon." Like put yourself in it. So, sorry, Ed. I don't know. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But
I hate his guts. Yeah.
But to take it back to them, you started off by saying, I can never stand it. I wonder if that self-importance and earnestness is the thing that kind of cheesed you off on them, because
totally.
I always thought that was there.
You remember that the song that is their biggest song is called Lightning Crashes.
Yeah.
And they used to play the video all the fucking time on MTV, and I would always be like, oh god, this video is like 6 minutes long. It takes a long time. The thing is that I will say about live is they've got some pretty good grooves. Like there's some of their music actually moves a little bit.
So I wrote that down. They're an above, like so we talk about some jam bands
yes.
like
Blues Traveler
and fucking Spin Doctors.
Yeah.
They kind of fit into that.
Yeah.
But they're a better band, actually. Like, there's some serviceable grooves here, and they can play nice. Like, I don't think there's a lot of good ideas. And in fact, I will tell you, there are some ideas on this record that are horrible, like so bad. There's a song called there's a song called "Tired of Me." and the beginning, what they're playing is so bad that it's like, are you joking right now?
Yeah.
Like, is this am I gonna hear
And I was
them?
like, and I agree with the title. I'm tired of you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the sentiment of what he's talking about in the song is quite cool. You know, I get what he's saying. And then
It's
there's
really
a song.
this is why I have such powerful feelings about it, because I'm so close to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I agree with you. I'm with you in the sentiment, and yet it's kind of like the Annie DeFranco stuff. There's something about the divide between the content and the form that loses me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do think that for a man his age, he does a pretty good job of trying to be deep and profound. There's nothing wrong with reaching for the profound.
Yeah.
And I think he does a decent job of it without becoming too gross.
It's just
You
like
know?
the writing isn't what I want it to be.
No, and it might get worse.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it in terms of, anti-war material, which we've said before is sort of like, all we are saying is give peace a chance.
Right.
Something can come off as trite and banal about it, to be like, hey guys, I just, so everyone knows here, I'm against war, and I want to be clear about that. You're sort of like, okay, but like,
how is that useful other than to say I'm against war?
Right.
It's like the bumper sticker, Christians aren't perfect, just forgiven. Oh, fuck you. What does that even mean?
But think about this. Think about, like, the band that gets known for this is Rage Against the Machine, and their writing is fucking, like, there's an artful thing going on to his lyrics. Like, they have lyrics like, ain't it funny that the factory doors close round the time that the school doors close, round the time that 100,000 jail cells open up to greet you like the Reaper. You're like, that shit is just so, like, it's poetry that really hits hard, and it's better writing to me.
We're going to talk about him, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go into this in great detail. But Zach De La Rocha, not only is he gifted,
Yeah.
he knows how to get out of the way. He doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't make it about him.
Right.
He's never going to check
He's a-
me out how fucking bad I
He's a
am.
fucking teacher, man. Like, he's a professor.
But he is about the message,
Right.
not the man.
Yeah.
Ed's a little bit about the man.
There's nothing on this album that hits that hard in terms of those lyrics. Think about, like, I remember the first time I heard Rage Against the Machine on the radio, and he was singing, American eyes, view the world through American eyes, bury the past, rob us blind, and leave nothing behind. And I was just like, holy shit, like, this guy is delivering truths in sort of a package that's so fucking potent and compelling. And again, not to shit on Live completely, but they're reaching for that and they're not hitting that. It's Rage Against the Machine that, to me, is going to be. There are some other bands that are going to do this, that are going to take political material like this and elevate it to something that really fucking rocks.
But Rage Against the Machine also fires on all fucking cylinders.
That's right.
Yeah, I played like 4 times with their drummer Brad Wilk.
Yeah.
In a little project.
They're a nuclear band.
Every cylinder in that band was firing at top speed.
Yeah.
Everything fits. It's just a fully realized artistic project, and the people doing it were savvy enough to know. This is rare. I don't want to start talking about Rage Against the Machine.
It's totally unfair for me to bring up Rage Against the Machine and to be like, Live isn't Rage Against the Machine, therefore they suck. But it just made me think about it, because I was sort of thinking, okay, here's a band Live that, to their credit, it's 1991. The Gulf War is happening in 91.
Yeah.
There is I think that there was a feeling after Vietnam that, like, oh, America's not going to go to shitty wars anymore. It was this naive feeling, perhaps. But, like, if you remember when George Bush, the first George Bush, sent troops into the Gulf in 91, it was a huge fucking deal.
Yeah.
And a lot of, like, older artists like Neil Young, Chris Christopherson, a million others were, like, coming out and being like, we know what to do, we trained for this kind of thing. And so to me, that there's something I have to, like, give credit to Live for, like, putting this album out in 91 and talking about this shit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear about this than, getting rubbing up against a girl in the club, and they have more in.
It's like, think of David Lee Roth putting out an anti-war album. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that ain't cool. They also this has much more in common with classic rock and prog rock than it does with any punk rock or garage. There's nothing garagey about this.
Right, yeah.
In fact, some of the production on this record, and it's interesting that Jerry Harrison is the producer of the Talking Heads. Some of this, like, there were some albums that some classic rock bands put out. Deep Purple, I think was that called Perfect Strangers? Is that deeper? Rush, Grace Under Pressure.
Yeah. It's in there for sure.
The Firm. That was Jimmy Page and Paul Rogers.
This is a little bit glossy.
There was those bands. Those were 70s rocker dudes that made records in the 80s where the production kind of gave them a new feel. And these guys have that production on this record. It's a little glossy. There's the way the delays and the reverbs are used. It's very slick and feels classic rocky. And they have a lot more in common with that world than with the underground punk world. And then I also think that something about Ed Kowalczyk that, once again, there's worse things to be than reflective. Mm-hmm. He's got a Cat Stevens thing to his voice.
Oh yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah,
I do think that did you get into their breakup?
No.
This is by far the most interesting part of the live story. And maybe I should wait till the next record to tell it, but they we don't have that much to talk about today, so they kind of got. They went through a really crazy, but they were pretty successful throughout the 90s. They made a few more records that did well. And then by the end of the decade, things were shuffling around in the industry, and they were kind of an era that was losing a little bit of steam, you know? And Ed Kowalczyk, according to what I heard, had started to say, I think I want to get more credit for our publishing. And so a couple of guys in the band didn't like that. Some faction of the band was like, "Well, he did write all the melodies and
lyrics,
a lot of the stuff."
Sang the songs
and so they went through this crazy breakup where they were like, so they broke up. They took a break. And then the three guys in the band got involved with this shady real estate developer guy.
Oh, I remember something about this. Yeah.
And like they bought into a building that literally collapsed, and then they were launched they became executives on a tech startup, not knowing anything about it, which they got screwed out of all this money, and then they sued Ed Kowalczyk because he was sang the lead singer of Live, and then they just crazy stuff, and then they got back together, but he got like 40% of the touring money because he was Ed Kowalczyk, which, and they tried to make a band without him, and that didn't work, which, they are one of, they're not U2 or REM. If it wasn't that drummer, you'd still go see him. Yeah. But if Ed wasn't singing, they were centric around him.
You and I both saw this show last week, Jeff Tweedy. Performing with his part of the band is his two sons and their friends, and I think that's a savvy move by him actually to play with like a bunch of young people.
Oh, super cool!
It was super cool. Great. But I was also thinking about the fact that he played almost entirely material from this new album of his, and nothing from the Wilco catalog, which is pretty crazy to think about when you think like, okay, this guy has a huge catalog of Wilco songs.
Any Wilco songs,
he didn't play any of them, and it's still, I think he satisfied the crowd.
Oh, people loved it.
And I thought
Sold
that
out,
was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking like, okay, so David Byrne is touring. We're going to see him in Santa Barbara Bowl in about a month.
Yeah.
And he's doing for the first time with his solo thing, he's doing Talking Heads songs. And I think the other Talking Heads people were kind of peeved about that. They were kind of like, oh, like we're Talking Heads, and now, and I thought about that, with Live, that's sort of like, okay, who is the band really, And I think part of me was wondering, does Tweedy not do the Wilco material because he doesn't want to piss off the Wilco guys and be like, I can do it with my sons, I can do the same. I don't need the drummer from Wilco. I can just have my son drum the shit, and people will still fucking love it, and I'll make the same money. That's the root of a lot of, I think, a lot of bad blood, or the possibility for a lot of bad blood. It's sort of like, who is the band? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, Wilco's been together for a long time with a lot of the same guys, I think. So they are a band.
And their guitarist is fucking amazing.
And they are a band. So I that may be true. I like to make that up. Jeff seems like a cool dude. So I didn't pay attention to any of that because I was so angry that he didn't acknowledge my call for them to reunite. Jeff Tweedy, you owe me another apology. No, so
how dare you? Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, it's rare that I can think of an artist that has this huge catalog with a band that was able to put on a rockin' show of just his new material.
And even played an Uncle Tupelo song.
That's right.
But didn't play anything. I don't know, but man, I think you're right. The show was great. He doesn't need to do that material, so maybe it is about like, hey, I'm gonna leave that where with that groove.
It's kind of a flex though, because he's saying I'm still like a fucking good enough songwriter to bring you new stuff, and I think that a lot of people in the crowd aren't really familiar with all of those songs, but they're just good songs. Like you haven't listened to that album.
I didn't know any of the songs until the encore,
but they're good songs.
I love the show. Yeah, that is a bit of a flex. You're right. Yeah. So yeah, live.
Yes. Throw it in the garbage.
Live. You're dead to me. No,
that's good. Yeah,
no, I mean,
I guess I have more respect for them now than I did when I was a teenager watching this shit on MTV. It was something about honestly the lead singer rubbed me wrong, and it kind of still does.
Yeah,
but
there's an ego there, dude.
Right,
and he's sort of got this thing. Self-importance. There's a little bit. It's like a little bit. It's not as obnoxious as this, but it's like Scott Stapp of Creed.
Right. Yes.
Who's like in their videos, he's crucified in the sky.
Right.
You know, doing one of his Eddie Vedder ripoff.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our last album of December 1991, and really our last album of 1991.
Yeah.
An insane year in music, and this album is called Spine of God. It's the debut studio album by a rock band called Monster Magnet. I will say, I've always heard of Monster Magnet. I've never listened to Monster Magnet before. I dug this album. I thought it was a fun, fucking spacey rock, psychedelic experience. It's in the mode of like... I would compare it to something like, you remember the bands like Wolfmother or The Darkness?
Sure.
They're both bands that are sort of doing a little bit of a hammy take on big metal music. They're almost like you feel like there's sort of jokes in their music, and yet humor. It's still great music. Like you can take it seriously.
I wrote in my notes, it sounds like if Frank Zappa had a grunge band.
Right.
Yeah. There's humor in there. Doesn't take itself seriously, and I know the bar is low.
They got some rockin' riffs on some of these songs.
The bar is low. I will admit that, but this is by far the most interesting record of the week.
Yeah.
So Mudhoney. Although I wrote in my notes, they reminded me of Mudhoney a little bit.
That's funny.
Monster Magnet has a special place in my heart, and they won't remember this, but to Halloween. So no, Halloween was when we pulled into New York City. So in the first few days of November of 1993, we played what was then called the CMJ, the College Music Journal Showcase. It was a collection of shows all over the city of New York, and it was a big showcase. And we did South by Southwest and that every year. And we played opening for Monster Magnet 2 nights at CBGB's, the legendary club in Greenwich Village, and I think it's in Greenwich Village, and close to it. And so not because of Monster Magnet, but Monster Magnet is associated with me getting to play CBGB's, which is just so, I'm so grateful that I got to do that. And when you are playing at CBGB's, you're backstage, and all you're doing, you're trying to read all the fucking graffiti on the wall, and you're thinking about Blondie and Talking Heads and Patti Smith and Devo and the Ramones, all these fucking bands, the Cars, that played on that stage. It's a tiny stage right next to it. And then you're also thinking, who got high and had sex in this room?
Oh yeah.
It's an overwhelming experience to have been there.
I can smell it.
Yeah.
You're describing it, and I can smell it. There's something about those East Village places that they are fewer and fewer that they even exist anymore. But something about those places that are like, you can smell the cheap beer and piss in those places, and there's something. It's history. You know what I mean? Like it's. I was in a bar called Holiday Cocktail Lounge that some of the East Village rats might remember, that when I was in my first summer staying in New York City in 2003, and I'd had pictures of beer, went to the bathroom, and it was exactly like you're describing, just like covered in graffiti and shit. It just looked like this is a bathroom that people go and like do heroin in, And I remember as I'm using the bathroom, I would see over the toilet a piece of graffiti that said, that over the toilet said, "The Church of Shooting Yourself," and there was something about it that was so cynical and dark and crazy to hear that that I remember in that moment being like, I have to live here in New York City. Like, I have to come here and experience this and be part of this neighborhood. So I think CBGB has even more of that sort of power to it. Had R.I.P. CBGB. Right. Yeah.
Once again, to have been just what a great time to be a musician. Mm-hmm. That era. I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2023 doing an event there, a music event there, and they had an exhibit there about rock and roll, and there was this list of clubs, legendary rock clubs, CBGB's, Doug Weston's Troubadour, the Fillmore West, Crocodile Cafe in Seattle, Max's Kansas City, the place in Portland, what's it called? And the Satyricon in Portland, and not the Satyricon, but there was another one. The Satyricon was on the list, and I went down, and with the exception of Max's Kansas City, we had played all of them.
That's so
and
cool.
I just thought, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I got to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, such a cool time to have been alive. Oh, the what's the fucking place? The Catalyst in Santa Cruz.
Oh, okay.
Great place. But the place is it Roseland in Portland, or is it?
You tell me, man.
Or is it? I forget. Anyway.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna be able to find.
I don't worry about it. But anyway, that's my connection to Monster Magnet.
So Monster Magnet was involved in you getting to play.
They had nothing to do with it. Yeah. We got pumped on. ASCAP got us on the bill.
What was there? I mean, tell me, like, what was Monster Magnet's place in the culture? Because I don't really remember them. I mean, reading about them now and doing a little research for this episode, I was sort of like, okay, they're recognized as sort of pioneers of this sort of stoner rock, space rock vibe, which I like, and like we talked
bands
about,
like Caius and Fu Manchu.
I like that kind of droney shit, you know, and that's why I appreciated this album, because they had that sound.
So they back then, as I recall, they were kind of doing the same thing we were doing, and they did end up getting signed to a major label.
Yeah.
And so they were, but back then I think that was 93, so they might have had another album come out before then. But they had made a couple of records. I think they were on like one of those cool indie labels like Caroline Records or something. And they hadn't really had much happen. So they were just showcasing too. And just what I remember about them mostly was they were not as heavy as I thought they were going to be live.
Yeah.
They weren't like, I was expecting them to be like, you know, Slayer or Anthrax or something, which they're not. You know, you listen to them, but that's what I remember about them. They weren't as heavy as I thought they were going to be. But I
don't know how to describe their sound, because I hear what you're saying. Like, it's not speed metal, and it doesn't have a kind of like chugga Metallica thing going on.
It's like heavy psychedelic 60s rock.
Yeah,
man. It's once again psychedelia. It's got there's a couple songs. That song Zodiac Lung.
Yeah,
it sounds like it could be like a Haight-Ashbury like 60s band. You know, psychedelic. The great line. So okay, first of all, did you feel? I'm always afraid that I'm reading shit into people's lyrics because, you know, I was a junkie in my 20s.
Right.
Did you get a lot of drug references in this?
Oh yeah.
Like
I think that they're sort of a very druggy band, and the guy, Monster Magnet, what's his name? Is Dave Windorf?
Yeah.
He sort of like seems like a druggy jester kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like
his lyrics were very engaging to me and funny. Yeah. He wrote like in that song Zodiac Lung, there's a line here. It's fuck ups like you that never seem to die. And I thought, man, I knew dudes like this. Like I had a couple of friends in those days, a couple of friends that committed suicide, I had a couple of friends that overdosed.
Yeah.
And but the douchiest fucking hope to die dope fiends that were fucking slamming green shit in their veins,
they
lived.
Indestructible.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, the name of their first two demo cassettes, the first one is called Forget About Life, I'm High on Dope, and the second one was called I'm Stoned, What Are You Gonna Do About It?
Okay,
question
asked and answered. I did not know that. That's why. Yeah, there's a song, "The Spine of God," which what a visual. Don't pull on the spine of God. It's great. Yeah. There's a line in there. I've sold 100 hits to 100 heads, and there's another line. Peace is what you get from the Chemical King, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking dope fiend. Like,
totally.
Yeah. So,
but there's humor to it. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know. Think about like Mark Lanigan, and I love Mark Lanigan, but his stuff is really dark and serious, you know, and you really get the like sort of pain and rage and pathos of it. This is sort of like almost has a Robert Crumb sort of attitude towards it, like there's something that just like totally 60s, like the guy Woodstock burnout guy that's like, let's all get high, man. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like he talks about greasing pigs and gassing pigs. And like there's something really fucking funny about that. And I enjoyed it.
Once again, he's like, like you said, what does it sound like? They sound more like Cream to me.
Yeah.
Than a punk band or a metal band.
They're heavy, but they're not heavy in that sort of like dark, deep way. They're sort of
not.
The
not
spacey
heavy.
Really does a lot to describe them. I think
they're heavy in a noisy way.
Yeah,
not like distorted. Not in the sense of like highly compressed, highly processed guitar sounds and fast drums and rapid fire, kick drum, and they're just heavy in a noisy way.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear how Monster Magnet evolves, because I know that they have a couple of hits later on that have great titles. Their hits in the 90s are, one is called Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and the other one is called Space Lord. And I'm like, these guys are really like playing with, they're having fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's sort of something really funny about what they do.
Yeah, I liked the record. So like if I talk about live, I didn't think I can't remember one song off that record.
No,
there weren't great songs on that record. There was some good playing and there was some good lyrics, but nothing gelled into a great song for me. And I felt a little bit of that way about Monster Magnet.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't remember like, you know what? That's not true. There's a song on there called Black Mastermind. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, it's an 8-minute long song, and the last half of it's just noise. But that riff in the beginning was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And there's another song on this album called Medicine. It's the second song on the record. The guitar part starts, and I went, Beastie Boys, did you rip off Sabotage from this? Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It sounded like Sabotage.
I hear that now. Yeah.
So that there's some cool ideas, but they don't gel into great songs.
Well, I mean, like I said, Monster Magnet is not a band that I sort of remember other than like hearing about them. I'm glad to have met Monster Magnet because of this podcast, and this is part.
But this is where the relationship ends.
Yeah, exactly. This is part of Monster Magnet. You're dead. But this is what I want to do this podcast in part to discover the whole fabric of the '90s. Because Monster Magnet's part of it, you know what I mean? And they're influential in terms of a genre that's going to build throughout the decade, and is still around, honestly.
Yeah, and once again, they were one of those bands in the early '90s. They didn't have big hits. Maybe later they had a couple of hits, but at this time, you knew who they were if you were in the music scene. They had like a renown,
Yeah,
you'd heard of Monster Magnet,
right?
They were one of the bands that were making noise on the underground,
All right, so I think we did a good job of December '91, and I think we've touched on some.
Good, we were great.
Some of the themes that are gonna come back in our year-end wrap-up. So our next episode will be about our choices, respective choices. We'll each have our own lists, and we won't reveal them to each other, of our top 10 albums of 1991, which is gonna be tricky because there was a lot of really great stuff that came out this year. So you're gonna have to. I was thinking to myself, I'm really gonna have to weigh sort of a lot. There's a lot of baggage that comes with all these albums. You know what I mean? Like the easiest thing to do is just be like, well, it's Nirvana's Nevermind #1. That's what everyone does. And I'm already thinking, well, is that what I'm gonna do? Like, am I gonna just be take the easy way out and just say it was Nirvana?
I feared doing the opposite.
Right.
I had a little talk with myself as I was thinking about it, going, just because everyone picks Nirvana Nevermind, that doesn't mean it might not be. You have to be you can't put it down the list just to be contrarian, John.
Right. Yeah.
You got to put it where it belongs.
Yeah.
And you know what else we got to do?
Yeah.
We have to right now. We have to control our we have to limit our honorable mentions list.
That's right.
Because we did honorable mentions.
Yeah,
and I could see us having 20 of those.
It's a cop-out.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's totally a cop-out. So I can't believe that we've made it through 1991. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to mention before we go. The top 3 songs of the year in popular culture. So they're like the Billboard #1 songs. #1 was, of course, fucking Bryan Adams' The Robin Hood song.
The mentally ill America song.
Right.
Yeah.
Number 2, Michael Jackson's Black or White, which is the video with the morphing. Do you remember this? They sort of like it was kind of a kumbaya lame song.
I was so offended at Michael Jackson appearing in whiteface that I never watched it again. It was so offensive to me.
It's funny you say that because I remember as a kid looking at that video and being like, he looks weird, and it was the beginning of him starting to look really weird, and I felt like it felt like over to me a little bit. So Michael Jackson had the number 2 song. Number 3 song of the year though is "Losing My Religion" by REM, which I thought was kind of mind blowing because I'm like, we've been talking about REM as this sort of like alt rock, college radio, indie art guys. You know what I mean? And here they are with the fucking... They're right next to Michael Jackson and Bryan Adams.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? So, like, they got that big.
What?
REM got that big.
Real quick, you can cut this out of the podcast. What was REM's biggest hit song ever in terms of, like, the most popular song they've ever made? Was that it?
I think so. Yeah, it's "Losing My Religion." Yeah. It was... it became their highest charting U.S. single, a massive global hit. You know, known for its distinct mandolin riff. But I was thinking about like, okay, what is it about that song? Why did that song get so big? It's a weird song. It's almost in it's almost in that live place of like a kind of vaguely cryptic, mystical song. You know, no one knows what it really means. No one knows what it's really about. But it's the hook, right? It's like an earworm. That song, "That's Me in the Corner."
That's me in the corner.
Yeah, it just gets stuck in your fucking head. It has a kind of circularity that's like it's an endless song in a way.
And he takes a popular phrase.
Yeah.
"Losing my religion." You know, losing my religion means, that means like something shocks you. You know, it's a saying.
Right.
An old Southern saying.
Right.
And
but I don't think it was widely known outside the South. It became a huge thing because of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great metaphor for what he was talking about.
Yeah.
It's unlike the Bryan Adams song. I think it succeeded because it is a great piece of art.
Well, and I think that's partly what we have noted about 1991 is that there is something really compelling and artful that's coming from the underground, and it's starting to connect to the pop world. And that's an interesting thing. Like, it doesn't always happen that way. A lot of times the pop world is just the pop world.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of bullshit that sounds cool. People like it. Sometimes I like it. I don't want to be condescending. But at the same time, you know, I like kind of the artier stuff. And it's weird when you look at the fucking number 1 songs of 91 and "Losing My Religion" is on there. It was a cool moment. This is why we're still talking about the 90s.
Bryan Adams, "Everything I Do It For You," is number 1 for the year because we're mentally ill and shallow. But
it's a good song, though.
"Losing My Religion" is number 3, which shows maybe there's hope for us.
Yeah, that's good. Is "Iris" a good song? Do you think "Iris"? Because there was this fierce debate about that. There was a guy who made a viral video that was like, "Stop putting this song on your fucking 90s nostalgia videos. That song was awful. Anyone in the 90s knew that song was awful." And I'm like, you know, "And I'd give up forever to touch you." You know,
okay. So
it's kind of in that Bryan Adams mode.
For sure.
Yeah.
And once again, there's nothing wrong with Bryan Adams.
That shit's gold, dude.
So let me answer your question. There's a 2-part answer to this. Objectively speaking, it's a great pop song.
Right.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's memorable. It's got a really good hook. Personally, I think it's very tripe and corny, and I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. It's very corny.
Lame.
I don't want the world to see me, and it's the way he sings it, like you said, is kind of effective. Like, "Oh, I'm in so much pain, man." It's very like, "Oh Christ," you know. So
that's the country we live in. People that really connect to that feeling.
Right.
I don't want the world to see me.
Yeah, it's this sort of 2-dimensional sensitivity that sells. You know, it's not interesting to me. Yeah. As for me personally, as a consumer of music, not interesting. But objectively, as a person who spent his life in music, is it a great song? Fuck yeah, it's a hit song.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of thinking about it. Well, we will continue thinking about it on our wrap-up of 1991 next time. Thank you, John, as always. Thank you, listeners. David. We'll see you for the best of 1991.